What if the God who created this world isn't the true God? What if the being worshipped by billions across time is not a benevolent creator, but a deceiver, a jailer who shaped reality not out of love, but out of ignorance and control? This is not fiction. It is the core of one of the oldest and most forbidden teachings in human history, Gnosticism. To the Gnostics, the world we live in is not divine. It's a trap, a prison crafted by a false god known as the Demiurge, who mistook himself for the source of all things. But within this illusion, they believed, lies a secret, a divine spark buried in every soul, waiting to awaken. In this journey, we descend into the ancient mystery of the Demiurge and uncover why his illusion still shapes the world around us and the world within. The Pleroma and the fall of Sophia. Long before the stars burned in the sky and before time flowed like a river, there existed only the Pleroma, the fullness of divine being. It was not a place, but a state of ultimate reality, a realm of pure light, unity, and infinite consciousness. There was no division, no suffering, no desire, only the perfect harmony of divine presence. Within the Pleroma dwelled aeons, emanations of the one source. They were not deities as we imagine them, but divine principles, aspects of the unknowable source expressed in form. Love, truth, silence, grace, wisdom. Each aeon was a living current of the cosmic order. Among them was Sophia, the embodiment of wisdom, radiant and curious. But Sophia's longing was different. She yearned not just to reflect the source, but to understand it fully. In her deep desire to know the unknowable, she acted alone, without her male counterpart, in a break from the divine symmetry of the Pleroma. From that solitary act came a rupture. She brought forth a being, not in alignment with the harmony above, but distorted, born from imbalance and incomplete understanding. This being lacked the awareness of the divine. He was blind, proud, and severed from the light. His name would come later, but the Gnostics knew him as the Demiurge. Sophia, overwhelmed with sorrow and fear, cast her creation out of the Pleroma, away from the divine fullness and into a lower realm, a space of separation and shadow. In this exile, the Demiurge awoke, unaware of his origins. Surrounded by darkness and silence, he believed he was the only power that existed. And so he declared, "I am God, and there is no other beside me." Thus began the great illusion, the forging of a false reality by a blind creator who mistook isolation for supremacy. What followed would shape everything we now call existence. The creation of the material world. Blinded by arrogance and unable to perceive the divine light from which he was exiled, the Demiurge began to shape a realm of his own. But unlike the aeons of the Pleroma, who emanated truth, harmony, and beauty as a natural extension of their being, the Demiurge did not create in unity with the source. He could not. He was cut off, severed from the divine, and so he could only imitate what he had no true understanding of. And what he created was not a world of divine order, but one of flawed reflection, a fractured echo of higher realms, a counterfeit cosmos. He carved out the heavens and the earth with a hand that did not know balance. He tore light from darkness, sea from sky, spirit from flesh, not to reveal wholeness, but to enforce division. He spun galaxies, cast stars across the void, and gave rise to planets and time and matter. He sculpted beasts of land and sea, orchestrated the seasons, formed laws of physics and biology, a great architecture of precision, but without soul. And then, in his boldest act, he created humanity. He shaped them from the dust, from the substance of his lower realm, not as companions or reflections of the divine, but as subjects, as servants, a species molded in ignorance, designed to worship him, to obey, to remain blind. For the Demiurge's purpose was not to liberate creation, but to contain it, to hold it captive within the limits of space and time, chained by desire and fear, distracted by the illusion of permanence. But he did not work alone. He brought forth from himself powerful entities, the archons, rulers, watchers, and manipulators who would govern the false layers of reality. They became lords of time, arbiters of death, masters of pleasure and pain. each one assigned to uphold the illusion, to bend the minds of humans toward distraction and forgetfulness. They whisper through institutions, inhabit systems, pose as divine, and across every age they have taken on new masks, gods, kings, doctrines, screens. But in all his scheming, the Demiurge made a mistake, perhaps the greatest mistake possible. In crafting humanity, even from lowly matter, he unwittingly infused his creation with something he could never replicate, never contain. Within the human being, buried deep beneath the layers of flesh and forgetfulness, glows a spark, a flicker of the true divine. Not his creation, but Sophia's essence. A shard of the Pleroma, a piece of the infinite. That spark is the soul, not the mortal personality, but the eternal root of who we are. It is what makes us long for freedom, what drives us to question, what aches in us when we stare at the stars. It is what reminds us that this world, for all its wonder, is not our true home. And the Demiurge knows this. He cannot extinguish the spark, he cannot reach it, and so he fears it. Because if too many awaken, if too many begin to remember who they truly are, the illusion will crumble, the veil will fall, and his dominion, built on blindness, will be no more. Gnosis, the path to liberation. The Gnostics did not believe that salvation came through obedience, belief, or the acceptance of doctrine. They were not waiting for a savior to redeem them from sin, nor did they look to priests or institutions for guidance. What they sought was something far more personal and far more dangerous to the illusion. Gnosis, a direct inner knowing of the truth. To gain Gnosis was to awaken from the dream, to pierce the veil of illusion, and to see the world for what it truly was, not a sacred creation, but a well-constructed deception. They saw the world around them as a simulation, a layered construct designed to numb the soul, to keep humanity asleep within the walls of time, desire, and fear. This simulation, they believed, was maintained by the Demiurge and his archons. And everything we are taught to believe, from the structure of society to the foundations of religion, was carefully crafted to keep us unaware of the truth. But within every person, the Gnostics believed, lies a divine spark, a living fragment of the true source. And once this spark is stirred, once the soul begins to remember where it truly came from, the illusion begins to crack. Gnosis is not about believing in anything external. It is about uncovering something internal, a knowledge that emerges not from reading or listening, but from remembering. To the Gnostics, Jesus was not a sacrificial savior, but a divine emissary, a bringer of remembrance. He came not to found a religion, but to awaken souls, to remind them of the light they carried and the truth they had forgotten. The Gospel of Thomas captures this when it says, "The kingdom is inside you, and it is outside you. When you come to know yourselves, you will realize you are the children of the living Father." The path to Gnosis is not easy. It requires solitude, self-inquiry, and the courage to step away from the world's comforting lies. It demands that we strip away the false self, the roles, the masks, the borrowed truths, and return to something original, something eternal. But those who take this journey find more than knowledge. They find freedom. They find themselves. The modern implications of the Demiurge. You might ask, how does this ancient story affect us today? Look around. We live in a world ruled by false narratives, systems that claim to liberate us often enslave us. We're taught to trust what we see and to dismiss the voice within. From childhood, we are conditioned to believe in the permanence of the material, the power of authority, and the value of conformity. The world praises obedience and punishes awakening. Is it any wonder that so many feel empty, anxious, and alienated? We are spiritual beings trapped in a system built by an ignorant architect. And the archons are more powerful than ever, now hiding behind algorithms, screens, corporations, and ideologies. But even now, perhaps especially now, the Gnostic message calls to us. There is a spark within you, a forgotten memory of light. You are not your name, not your job, not your trauma or your past. You are not the story the world has written for you. You are divine. And the moment you begin to question, to seek, to awaken, The power of the Demiurge begins to crumble. Gnosis is not found in temples, cathedrals, or creeds. It is found in silence, in stillness, in asking, "Who am I? Why am I here? What is this world really made of?" The Gnostics were persecuted, their texts burned, their voices silenced. But the truth does not die, it waits. And now, as the illusion grows more complex, more convincing, more people are beginning to remember. Remember who they are, remember what this world is, and remember how to break free. You've now glimpsed a truth that few dare to speak, a vision of reality that challenges the very foundations of what we're told to believe. But knowledge alone is not enough. The Gnostics taught that once the spark is stirred, it is our task to nurture it, to follow it inward, through doubt, silence, and shadow, until it becomes a flame that lights the way home. If something within you stirred while listening, a memory, a question, a feeling you can't quite explain, don't ignore it. It may be the beginning of the end of the illusion.